Welcome back, everybody, and thank you so much for tuning in. Right now with us, we have Mark Stutz, co-chair of the Youth Sports Injury Prevention Task Force. Mark, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
So please give us a brief overview of the task force.
So the Youth Prevention Task Force is part of the Safe Kids Lincoln Lancaster County Task Force for Safe Kids. Safe Kids is an international organization, and Lincoln is one of the more active ones in the association. We, on our task force, have physicians, athletic trainers, and administrators and coaches from sports youth organizations, and our focus is threefold. It's prevention of concussions, prevention of dehydration, illnesses such as heat exhaustion and heat illness that I'm sure we'll talk about. And then also the third one is overuse injuries, prevention of those in youth sports.
And Mark, how long have you been a part of this?
So I've been co-chair for a couple of years with Dr. Natalie Runshaugen from Children's Hospital, and as total I've been on over 5 years.
So now kind of talk about some heat-related prevention tips.
So when we look at heat illness, we have three types. Heat cramps is the least severe as far as life-threatening goes, but they're still very painful. The next would be heat exhaustion, which is just what it sounds like. It really zaps the person of energy in that. And the most serious is heat stroke, and that's one that we definitely want to prevent. It is preventable, and that's the one that we're most concerned about. But the things we have to look out for besides the heat cramps are dizziness, headache, nausea, and then the fatigue. It's just the heat exhaustion really just, again, zaps somebody. And again, heat stroke is life-threatening, and we need to really be concerned about that. People stop sweating at that point, and it really can involve very serious issues with the organs and that type of thing. So what we want to do is prevent it, obviously, and that's what our task force talks about. And so I talked about the symptoms. So once you recognize those symptoms, you need to get somebody into the cooler environment, whether it be shade, under a tree. A lot of organizations, when they have events, have tents, so get them under a tent. A lot of places have misting stations, which would be great, but also it might, if it is the heat stroke that's suspected, they need immediate cooling, which would be immersed in a cold tub up to their neck, and they stay in there until the EMS transports them that their body temperature has lowered enough. If it's not possible to cool them with heat stroke in an immersion, they need to be transported immediately because, like I said, it's life-threatening. But some things that you can do to cool somebody, again, shade, give them cool fluids to drink, fan them, put some cold, wet towels on them, mist them with a hose, a lot of those kind of things. Anything you could think about. And obviously, air conditioning would be great, but that's not always available. But if someone has a van or a car that's near a field, they can get them in the air conditioning there. Or if a building's adjacent, they can always take them to the building and get them in the air conditioning too. But then they still might need some of those other measures I talked about, such as the misting, the cooling, or even the cold tank.
And real quick, where can parents go for resources?
So Safe Kids has done a lot of preparation for these types of issues. So on the website, safekidslincoln.org, there's lots of things about the three topics I talked about, but also we have a course called the Game Plan. And that is something that we partnered with Children's Hospital through, and it is actually a class that coaches can take online and actually print a certificate when they're done, and it covers a lot of the things that we're talking about here. But safekidslincoln.org has lots of information about preventing many of these things that we've talked about today.